suppose now the aliens, they grab you out of their spaceship, and you're, by chance, when they grab you, you're having one of these in your hand. And they don't know anything about how we live or how anything about the earth or what. So now, what would you tell them about this? What is this?
It's a lemon.
It's a lemon. So, does this thing have an independent existence? Like if you're trying to let them know what a lemon is.
More than your hand.
More than your hand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So now, isn't it, what would you have to tell them to explain this more fully? What other things would you have to tell them about the lemon?
What it is, how it grows, and
How it grows?
what we do with it. And
What would you have to include then in the story about the lemon?
That if you have lemons, you can have lemonade.
You true. Very true. Would you have to include the story about the soil
yes,
and about water?
elements.
And would you have to include this story about like seeds? And about how the seeds move from one place to another, and then the birds?
And the bees.
Right? Like you would have to pretty much tell them about the whole world to tell them about this, right? If you were giving them the full story about this, right? You'd have to include everything. But now, I think this is part of our dilemma as a human being, is that, like, because we're psychological beings, so we think that we exist independent. We're an independent entity, we're a thing. So what's a human being? Is it a noun or a verb? By definition, by school, what you learned in school. It's a noun, right? So what the person, place, or...
We're humans being.
Right.
We're being human.
We're being, but...
Or consumers.
Definitely. Right? But our focus, right, is that, okay, we learned that human being is a thing. Right? So then that means by definition that it has an independent existence. But it's not really the full story, right? If you think about a human being, you've got to include, you know, the food and the friends and the whole world, really, to talk about a human being. But psychology, a lot of it starts at, okay, I'm this, and now let's think forward about that. How I should get along with people, and how I can get along with my partner, and how I can get along at work, and how I can make money, and right? It's all like, this is real, and now we're going outwards. But I don't think we really exist independently. But this is the basis of this thing. We could pick this up again, I guess. So what I'm describing, body, breath, emotion, mind, and personality. So, just as you guys were coming in, we had agreed so far in our thinking that when you get upset, it starts when your personality or your ego gets triggered by something. Do you guys, are we all on board for that? And then we had just got to the point where we agreed that what's the next thing that happens? Your mind engages, or more accurately perhaps, the personality engages the mind. Right? Is this sort of like, this is sort of like your manager, and now this is your assistant manager, or your person on the floor, and now this happens. Right? Now your personality's grabbed a hold of your mind, and now you're going over the story. This is the storyline. How many times can you go over this story? Lots. Lots. How long can you hold on to this story?
Forever.
Right? This is storyline, right? This is personality gets triggered. Mind becomes engaged in that job of going over the story. What's the next thing that happens?
Emotion kicks in.
Your emotion kicks in because this is going on, so now your emotion is tied in. And isn't that true that that's going to affect your body and your breathing? Okay, so now it's all tied in. But where did it start? Down here. So I believe that if you're tracking it, the tracking of it goes this way. Because we're different, each person may start to notice anywhere along here. And each of you may notice at a different point. Some people, if they're really tuned into their bodies, they're like, wow, wonder why my shoulders are like this. And other people, they'll feel the tightness in their breathing. And other people will feel it more as like some emotional state or as some relational state. I feel emotion because that person said or did something or didn't say or do something. Other people will notice that, wow, my mind is just so preoccupied with this thing. And other people will sort of feel it here as if this thing has been attacked in some way. Okay? But I believe the direction of it is always this way. How many of these things, so let's say that these are 5 things on the dashboard of your car. Isn't it true that when you get upset, these things will red light? And if I knew what I did with my red pen,
Right
I'd
there.
red light them. Grabs hold of your mind, it red lights. Now your emotions get tied up, it red lights.
Yeah. Then you pull
It's
up
a
the duct
fixture.
tape and just cover up those red lights.
Sure. How many of these do you have to notice to get what's going on? Do you have to notice all 5?
No, just 2.
How many do you have to notice minimum?
1.
1, right? 1, and then if you start tracing it back, then you're going to end up over here. So, good, that's a little slice for you, thank you very much.